Howdy folks, Brian Cusco here at Triple B, and today we've got John, the creator of Morph Market, on the show, and we're going to get pretty intricate as far as some of the cool things that are coming forward with Morph Market. We're going to get into the history of how some of it formed, and we're going to go forward with what you can expect in the future, which is going to be some pretty huge things. Yeah, let's get into it. You're watching Triple B TV. Do you keep reptiles?
Currently, we just have pets. I started in 2014 and had bought one ball python, then another, and then another, and I did built a collection up over a short time, and then I bred one clutch. But by that point, Morph Market was already starting to consume. It was starting to take a lot of time, and I have a family, and I had another job too. So I just decided to sell all that off, focus on the business, the two jobs, and my family, and I said one day when I just have one job again, then I can start to have reptiles and pets and stuff. So that's what happened. I had quit my job 18 months ago, so we got a Dummerals boa, and we have a bearded. We already had a bearded. My daughter has a bearded dragon too. So
you quit so you had a day job that you quit a year and a half ago,
right?
To run Morph Market full time, basically.
Right. Yep.
That's exciting, man.
Made the jump.
That's a big deal for that. A lot of people, I think, strive to get, and that's one of the things I like to have people on, especially that you made that jump. Like, just to know that it can happen, and there's so many different avenues that you can take. Whatever it is that your strong point is, it doesn't have to be breeding reptiles.
Right.
You are just keeping it pets, and yet you are able to go full time in the reptile industry without even breeding anything.
Yep.
And that's something that there's a lot of that available. There's so many things that are needed in this industry that are not breeding reptiles that you can.
Everybody has a different skill set and what they bring to the table, and it's interviewing people and doing videos and stuff, educating, or in my case, more technology. It's like that's what you can specialize in what you're best at.
Yeah.
I'm not, and even today, like I'm I rate myself a level 1 expert. On the level 1 to 10, I'm a 1 or 2. You know what I mean? So I surround myself with people I can trust to get the right information to make decisions about the business. So.
Cool. Yeah, like the thing that you guys launched recently with the Morph Media, or is it Morph Media or Morphpedia? Morphpedia, just like Wikipedia, but for Morph.
Yep.
I think that's going to be awesome. I love the idea. If it can work just like Wikipedia, I don't know exactly how Wikipedia works. I know that people add on as they will, but I don't know how they decide this is actually what it is, and we're not going to change it anymore. And not let random people add in and be like, actually, Lincoln's still alive killing vampires. That technically is what's happening.
Yes.
Since I typed it in.
Right. It's going to work. It is. Yeah. The name is similar to Wikipedia because it's like a trade encyclopedia or trade Wikipedia. It's a little different than Wikipedia because I believe Wikipedia anybody can go and make edits to the articles. But then everyone's watching, and so if somebody says something dumb, it gets reverted out really fast. In this case, we're not going to give edit access to everybody. We're going to have editors. So on our community site, each of these pages, the master content will be controlled, managed by editors and maybe experts, basically a smaller set of people. But then everybody can get on there and reply and converse and debate, and discuss, and it'll be their job to incorporate kind of the well-evidenced arguments and stuff back into the article. One of my principles in the project is it's going to be very open because you'll have that public conversation. It'll be preserved. It's not going to get deleted in a group and be lost forever, right? But also, what I really like is the idea of preserving different viewpoints. If there's more than one viewpoint and there's decent evidence for each, preserve it. And we even have a potential controversy section in these articles. So it's some people think this and here's why, and other people think that. So we don't need to distill it down to a single fact that you just digest. You can learn more about the different possibilities.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. Give both sides of the argument, because any good argument has a valid point to it. Otherwise, it wouldn't be able to have any legs to stand on. So,
right. And
that's a great way to look at it. I think we have the opposing sides, put them both up there. Be like, this is why this thinks this, and I think this about this, and they're both. There's truth to both.
Right. And it's similar to care sheets, which is something else we want to get into, and in there as well. There's not necessarily one right answer. It's in general, and also when you start to look at different people living in different areas and climates, they got to tune and tweak things to work for their animals there. So preserving all that detail and not trying to oversimplify, I think is important.
I'm curious about how long it went from the idea of wanting to start something like Morph Market to building whatever it takes as far as cyber infrastructure, to get to launch to I mean, obviously it's grown a lot. There's so many different features than when you first launched. But
Right.
like, what was the process when you decided I want to start something like this? Like, how long was that time period from launching the site?
It was 2014, I think around October, when I first had some ideas that, I had a collection of my own. I was learning about the different morphs and the pricing and stuff, and I had this idea. I wanted to use some of my experience in artificial intelligence, machine learning, to build a classifier to basically predict prices. So where I could plug in like a 3-gene combo, and based on the data that it had, it could say that's probably worth about this much. Just, I don't know, it was just kind of a weekend experiment. Well, to do that kind of AI, you got to have data. So I started to get data from some websites of breeders. Okay, well, it didn't take long, I guess, through my own experience of trying to buy and sell online, that I kind of pivoted, and I thought, well, instead of using this data to just predict these values, I think this could meet a need in the community, because what was available were, you had Facebook and social media platforms that weren't really designed for that, nor did it sort of abide by their terms of service. They weren't enforcing it back then until maybe 18, 19. But what you had were websites that were like forums from the 1990s that had been modified a little bit.
And Fauna.
Yeah, those kind of sites, which, served a purpose but weren't modern. And that's why I believe the community shifted over to Facebook, Instagram, because they weren't reptile specific, but they were modern, and they were used, they had a lot of benefits too. So I thought we could have a more modern site with reptile specific features. But it wasn't, that alone is not a specific idea. A lot of people thought of that. It was probably more about execution of that idea and timing and luck.
Now, how has it worked? What are the challenges you've seen for other species? Because morph market is definitely centered on just in the name. It's like morphs of different snakes. So obviously the top of the heap is ball pythons when it comes to morphs, and then you got other species down the line. Like, what are some of the challenges of trying to incorporate some of those less, like something like scrub pythons or any other species that's not nearly as commonly kept as something like ball pythons and things of that nature?
Right. The way we've handled it on the site is to, we started off with big categories like ball pythons, leopard geckos, boa constrictors, where there are a lot of morphs. Because the more morphs there are, the more value the site, at least with that in an early feature set, the more value we could provide. And then what we did, I think is over time we added more categories. We added other categories, other lizards, other geckos, other colubrids, so that we could at least have a place to sell scrub pythons and the other pythons, and then promote them up over time. So they got, initially that might have been in the other section, but then we had maybe enough scrub pythons listed to where they'd justify its own little subsection within, or subcategory within other pythons. And then like 2 months ago, we elevated 12 of those subcategories up to top level categories, so they got the full genetic support, like did the gargoyles and lychees and rat snakes and so forth. So as far as challenges, I'm not sure of challenges in particular. I mean, I was just talking to some rat snake guys, and they were giving us feedback, because we just launched this 2 months ago, about we can better organize the subcategories into, there's some differences between, I guess, scientifically how they've got the taxonomy set up, and more in practice and hobby. So, we are always taking feedback and adjusting things.
Was there ever a moment, was the site? I know there was a little bit of noise, and I reached out to you about it. Like there was a moment we were doing different as far as like how much it cost to have a membership versus I really don't know the details. I just knew when I saw it, I was like, I want to have a certain amount of pictures. I want to have a certain amount of thing in there, so I buy this level. And I do that, and it's great because I've made fantastic sales through Morph Market. I mean, I think it takes a very. You'd have to be hard pressed to say that. I don't know. What am I trying to say? I'm trying to say it like well, which is that you're providing a service that is working. You're not just there to take somebody's money and just I'm taking it because there's a service of very strong value that's being provided.
Sure.
So what had happened where what changes have been made where people were not happy with having to pay for certain tiers versus ball python stuff? I feel like there was a lot of confusion in a moment there about that.
So in big picture, you asked about timeline earlier, so I kind of just had mentioned in 2014 is when I started. I launched the ball pythons only initial morph market in October of 2015, so 6 years ago this week. And then the next year we started adding boa constrictors, other areas, leopard geckos. And so it was 2017, so it's been 2.5 years since we launched, I think, is when we monetized ball pythons. So we converted ball pythons to a mature area where it's okay, everything had been free to that point. now we're delivering enough value that we would ask for monetary support, for the services to keep the site so we can keep growing it, right? And then it was, that was 2017, I guess 2020, it was this year, 2021, so 4 years later is when we matured the other categories on the site besides ball pythons, basically made it the same as ball pythons. Okay, so, and that is really what allows us to keep going. That's how I was able to quit my job 18 months ago. How I was able to, we have 15 people-ish that work on the Morph Market team, and I just hired like 5 in the last 2 months. So, and that's how we're building Morphpedia so quickly. And so we're going to be accelerating because we're reinvesting all of those revenues back into the company to make a better service for the community. But as far as the confusion, I mean, it was a little more confusing in the past because we had some categories that were mature, that were on the one price plan. Other ones had different features for free. So that was, and then you have different regions. So you have USA, you have Europe, and others. So that there's just a lot of combinations there, and so it's always been a little confusing as to like, well, do I have to pay, or what do I get for that, or whatnot. I think at this point it's simpler, right? Because pretty much, at least in the USA, like, you're all on the same plan, so that's less confusing. We had when we initially rolled out those memberships in 2017, we didn't make any changes or raise prices at all for 4 years. And so it was this year when we matured the other categories that we also made some adjustments to the pricing structure. For example, you have the top 1% in terms of sales inventory on Morph Market, top 1% of sellers that will list hundreds of thousands of dollars of animals at a time, like on any given day, not for the month or the year. And then you have other guys that list $30,000 of animals, which is still a lot, but it's not $300,000, right? And basically the way it was set up, they were kind of oftentimes paying the same. So we did some restructuring of the pricing plans, including the top, added a plan called Pro at the top, for the top 1% of sellers, to kind of spread that out. It was an adjustment of the pricing structure. So people don't like change, they don't like to pay more, and I understand that. And we try to be really clear about why we did that, and all I can say now is we're putting the money back in, and I think for most breeders it's a good value, and we're going to add more features so there's more value there. And I don't anticipate any big adjustments. Again, we'll probably have like maybe annual small inflationary kind of increases like all services do, but we're pretty happy with how everything's set up now. And
I'm happy with it.
And the members seem to be too. Like, our membership is pretty strong, and I think that with Morphpedia and the other services we're adding, I anticipate it'll be even more.
Yeah, if it becomes a place where like newcomers can go to find like reasonable knowledge that's been curated by experts, that'll be fantastic. That's just another big. You guys are also obviously doing a lot of support back into the community besides having the site that is a value to the community, like supporting USARK in a big way.
Right.
I mean, that's the right way to do it. You're in the community, you're supporting, you're trying to encompass everything and help everybody grow into a better thing and make this go more positive into the future. So, and I recognize that. Yeah. I see that.
Yeah, we're in a unique position, and so that gives us an opportunity and a responsibility to do certain things, such as support USARK and be able to, we give money, but also being able to have like their alerts show up on our homepage, high priority. When Phil puts an alert out, it's going to show up within a day on our homepage and be there for a week, just to get more visibility. Having pages on our site to talk about USARK and explaining what it is, because there's still people that we meet that don't know hey, what's USARK? There's always that. And then adding, another feature we added this year was store badges. So we added badges so that sellers could kind of display some of their accomplishments and achievements. And one of those is a USARK badge. So every night our servers synchronize with the USARK database so that we can show all the members, supporting members of USARK, supporting in terms of membership.
So you're connected with the data, it'll automatically put the badge
I get
out
asked all the time. They'll say, John, hey, how do we get our badge on Morph Market? I'm like, if you're using the same email, we've already got it there. It already happens. So it's all automatic, it's authentic, and kind of real time. So
perfect, awesome. That was a question I had actually. You answered that without me asking it. Slightly confused me because I was like, because I was wondering, because I've obviously been supporting USARK forever, so I was like, well, do I need to go on there and put my badge on?
And people support USARK in lots of ways, right? Some just give it auctions, some donate things or whatnot. Phil will give credit for those towards membership. So there's different ways, but I think having a membership is a great way to start, because it's great to by not only giving them money, but also then you get the badge, and the badge tells people the USARK's important to you.
Yeah, and he will do that. To your point, like I remember back when that recheck ban was happening, and I was like potentially wanting to ship some myself, and there was like some kind of statute they were allowing into the wording of the law or whatever was happening. I don't even know what it was called, the legal term for it, but the injunction where I could get in and like still be able to ship them even though it's in this process of the legal process. And I was like, dude, if you gave money by a certain month and year to USARK, then you were covered in it. And I was like, I sent an email that I didn't know at the time, but went directly to Phil, and I was like, when I was at the USARK auction back in Pomona in January, I just walked up to Phil and handed him $50 cash and was like, thanks, and here's a little bit of support. I was like, does that count? He's like, yep, that counts, you're in. I was like, sweet.
Yeah.
So yeah, like you said, Phil will honor.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But some people make a donation one year and then they think, oh, I'm a member for life kind of thing. It's like,
no, it's yearly.
It's like a business. It's
Membership.
nonprofit. It needs ongoing revenues every year.
Yeah, and it needs it, and it goes to the right place. It's everything that we're trying to do here. They're supporting. It's all one big group that's headed in the direction we're trying to bring it. So
Right.
it's we're also, by supporting USARK, you're supporting yourself essentially. That's what I was going to ask. That the question that went into my head. Like Ship Your Reptiles has a little option to donate $1 to USARK for every shipment. Can you add something like that to
I was
the
almost
sales?
going to actually say that. That is in my mind. That's one of the next things I want to do to support USARK. So we don't yet have currently the site provides advertising and communication between buyer and seller, but we don't do a transaction on the site. Kind of go offline and use PayPal.
True.
But that's something we're going to add probably in the next 6 months. And when we do, I want to add the option like Ship Your Reptiles has to be able to donate. The Ship Your Reptiles thing, really sellers are the only one that see that because they're purchasing the labels. The cool thing is a Morph Market to be the buyers making the purchase from the seller. So we'll be giving that option to donate to a much bigger audience, right? Because
so you're going to have payment through the site instead of having to go remote?
Yes, so we'll probably use Square. And so it'll just be basically, we really won't be involved in the transaction other than brokering it. So somebody pays you'll have a Square account and it'll just go to your account. It'll just be convenient for the buyer to be able to click a button, say I want to buy it,
and not have
even
to take
necessarily
the
buy it now,
transaction
but like
off the site.
I kind of think of it as invoicing. So if you don't want to have a buy it now, but they inquire and you're like, okay, I'll do that price. So you invoice them for $1,000 or whatever it is, and then they can pay that. And at that time, they could say, okay, yeah, let's give $1 to USARK. Well, if we just took $1 for every transaction on Morph Market, it'd be a pretty significant revenue stream. So I'm actually really excited to have that there.
Yeah.
Especially because, like I said, the sellers tend to be the ones I would imagine that have most of those memberships. And the buyers, the keepers, there's a lot more of them. So if we can give them that opportunity to give $1 here and there, it'd be a new kind of channel of funding.
Yeah. And there's ways you can think about it, like whether the seller wants to automatically have that happen from them. Like you can pay with the price that's listed at, and this amount is going to go from that sale. So it's coming out of my pocket. You don't have to make the decision. You could do it both ways. I can see it working very well either way.
They could say, hey, I'll match up to however many dollars you donate to USARK.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of ways we could do it.
Yeah, fantastic, dude. It's so great to finally sit down and talk with you and meet you, man.
Definitely.
It's like I already knew. I could tell, but just by the way it's going and our little text back and forth, kind of where your mind was at. But now I'm looking you in the eye and hearing the way you see all this stuff. It makes sense that it's gone to where it's gone and the time you put into it. And huge congratulations for being able to take it full time, because that's going to give you the time to keep building it to where I'm excited for where it's going. Just sitting here talking with you, I'm way more. I was already this is great.
Yeah.
What's happening with Morph Market, but I'm super stoked for what you have going on right now, man. It's going to grow into. It's going to be. It's already been game changing. I see it continuing to set a bar.
Yeah, people ask me. So I have a friend, not reptile industry, but he's kind of like, well, you have that website. He's like, what are you doing full time? What do you do? So I worked 80 hours last week. Up to this show, trying to get everything ready for the show, get Morph PD out there. So it's you don't understand, I've got 1,000 things I want to do, but it's well, it's just a website, it's already done, right? It's no, it's a business, and there's so many additional directions we can go, features we can add, and services, and so we're really excited to have, not only me going full-time, but now me be able to hire on a lot of help to accelerate that, right? Because I can only go so fast, so be able to add a lot of features to make it even better, and then go kind of additional services like Morphpedia. We want to offer services to more services that support breeders, not just in the selling part of the breeding life cycle, but also the keeping of their animals, the breeding, the planning part of their, planning for the season, the hatching out, all those phases. We have ideas on features we're going to be adding.
Dude, like I said, I'm stoked to see what you come up with, man. It sounds like it's going to be a huge. It already has been, and it's just going to get bigger.
Thank you.
Congratulations, man.
We're privileged to be able to do that. So.
Yeah, and then it's that recognition right there that you feel it's a privilege to be able to do it. It's the right attitude, man. That's the winning attitude in life, and if you can incorporate it into business, you got my 100% utmost respect. So thank you for
well, it's an honor to talk with you.
You too, man. Thank you guys for watching, and as we do with all our guests, we'll be having a Zoom call tonight with John. If you have any burning questions that you'd like to ask him in person over a video call, tonight's the night to do that. There's a link down in the description if you'd like to join us. It'll tell you how, and we'd appreciate having you there. We'd love to see you there, and thank you again, John, for everything you've been doing so far with the site. I'm super excited for the future of it, man. And yeah, until next week, guys, you've been watching Triple B TV. Y'all take care.
Are we recording already, by the way?
I mean, we're just warming up, whatever.
Yeah, you can record. I mean, and we can just...
Yeah. There have been times when I was just running on pure adrenaline. Like, there's definitely been shows at Tinley in particular where I came in here, like, on 2 hours of sleep and who knows how much whiskey and a couple of push-ups. Yeah. And just, like, ran through the whole thing like that. Mm-hmm. Somehow made it work, but...
You get through it.
It's not
pleasant.
It's not pleasant. As much as you're enjoying being around everybody and there's like actual smiles and good times happening, it's almost like it's just this blur of like, I just barely made it through. It's no good. I'm glad to be getting away from that, I think.
You get a few gray hairs and you start to learn.
Yeah.
On Friday I called it early, so because I'm like, I'll stay up later on Saturday. And then Saturday there was less people out. I guess they'd already had too much fun on Friday.
It's fun too to gauge because it changes sometimes. Like sometimes that's not the case, and then Saturday's the night that everybody just goes freaking balls to the wall. But sometimes it happens on Friday. Yeah. I think probably people were like rearing and geared ready because it had been so long. It's like Friday couldn't have come soon enough.
Pull it out. Yep.